Listen, the most value that you guys will get is not from me. It's basically from our panelists today. And well, both of them are amazing speakers. Both of them are extremely successful entrepreneurs. And most importantly, both of them come from two different places when it comes to, how they started, what their experience is. And I think that by itself is extremely rich, and it's a lot for us to learn today, right? And so let me introduce them to you. On one hand, we have Noah Merriby. Noah is an award-winning speaker. He has over 300,000 students online. He is the CEO of Learners Academy, which is an e-learning platform. And he also earned the 2 Comma Club recognition from ClickFunnels. And on the other hand, we have Maria Saab. And Maria is a human optimization and a high-performance coach. She is Power Voice certified from Les Brown. And for those of you guys who don't know who Les Brown is, that's one of the most amazing speakers in the world. And last but not least, she is Mind Valley certified. She's a Mind Valley certified life coach and a 6-phase meditation trainer. So look at all those credentials, look at what they have to offer. So I'm not gonna waste a lot more time. So my question to you is this: how did you guys get started? And what do you think is the best way for someone to start developing the skill of public speaking? All right. I'm going to repeat that question. So how did you guys get started in public speaking? And what do you think is the best way for someone to start developing that skill? All right. How about we start with you, Noah?
Sure. So initially how it started is I was, and I still am, somewhat of an introvert. And, birds of a feather flock together. If you're an introvert, you're going to tend to hang out with other introverts. And then it's a whole snowball of introverted people. And it doesn't really add a lot of value to your communication. Majority of extremely talented speakers are extroverted people. So that's when Google came in handy. I did some research about public speaking. I was in Ottawa. I was going to the university back then. And I stumbled upon this club called Toastmasters. I thought the name was pretty funny, weird, but I thought it was interesting. I went to my first meeting and I thought it was pretty interesting. Went again and again and again. 4 months after joining the club, I started my first speech competition, and it kind of just started rolling from there. So for anybody who wants to improve their communication skill, their leadership skills, their public speaking skills, find a Toastmaster club. They're everywhere in the world. Find one close to you. There's even ones online. You can join it from anywhere in the world and get started. Back to you.
Right. So as you guys, as we know, that public speaking is a skill, right? Although a lot of people, argue that perhaps it's innate, perhaps it's not, right? And as we just saw, I mean, one of you is an introvert, the other is an extrovert, and although both of you did work a lot on their skill, I mean, although both of you are really good at what you're doing, I mean, you still had to work on that skill, and that's what got you to where you are right now. Which brings me to my second question. I mean, it's just a skill like any other skill you learn in life. It has its ups, it has its downs, it has its frustrations, but it also comes with exponential growth. So there must have been a point, however, where something held you back, right? Something did not allow you to be great in a sense. So the question is, what was that one thing that held you back, right? What was that one thing, and how did you manage to break that barrier and move into growth? Noah, I think I mean, I think you definitely agree with that. But what do you think? What do you think from your own perspective, right? From your own experience, how did you manage to break that limiting belief? What was it, Aslan, in the first place?
The main issue for me, and I think for anybody who's trying to achieve greatness, is not able to, kind of relates to what Maria was saying, is the man or the woman in the mirror. It's the person that stares back at you when you look in the mirror. It's yourself. So there's a very famous quote by Nietzsche that says there are no facts, only interpretation. People take other people's opinions as facts, but there are no facts, only interpretations. You interpret these and turn them into facts based on your own personal anecdotes. But in reality, if you actually look in the mirror and you have a little conversation with the person staring back at you, you can go back and forth and you can kind of communicate and argue that maybe those are not facts. I know Maria is Les Brown certified. One of the most amazing things he says, someone's opinion of you does not have to become your reality. And unfortunately, a lot of the things that happen often is people take other people's opinion for reality. And I took other people's opinion for reality when I had evaluations and people would absolutely destroy me during the evaluation. You got to work on this, got to work on this, got to work on that. And even though it's helpful, it's constructive criticism. But for somebody who's already having some kind of insecurity towards speaking, this is a big slap in the face. You're like, oh, they're right. I need to work on 100 different things. Maybe I'm not that good. Maybe that's not what I'm meant to do. No. That's an interpretation. It's not a fact. Because if you work on yourself and you work on your skills for a full year, and then you ask yourself the question again, you're going to have a completely different answer, right? So this is the main thing that stopped me and that stops everybody from growing to the next level. It's the person that stares back at you when you're looking in the mirror. Until you conquer that person, and again, ties back to what Maria was saying, you're trying to conquer those limiting beliefs 100%. Once you conquer those, you can move into the next step. Back to you, Hamad.
There's something I want to share before you go, Hamad. Relating back to what Noah was saying, there's something that Marissa Peer says, that the images that you create in your mind and the stories that you tell yourself create your reality. But the power here is that we are able to change the images we have in our minds and change the stories and the narratives that we have in our minds as well. And we can ultimately change our reality to create whatever we want to create. So 100%, exactly what Noah was saying. It's so powerful. And here we get to realize the power that we have on our reality, not just the power of what other people say about our reality.
Yep. So basically the law of attraction is true, isn't it? So I just have a question for you, Noah. So just commenting on what you said, would you say that you were harsh with yourself throughout that journey?
Yeah, very, very. I live in Canada. It gets cold during winter in Lebanon, but it doesn't get to -40. When I was doing my international speech competition, I had to repeat it. I was living in a dorm with 12 other people. I could not repeat my speech at home. I could not practice it. I had to literally wear my coat, go out in -40, walking in the park, repeating my speech. You have to be harsh on yourself. If you're not harsh on yourself and you don't get yourself into the state of discomfort, you're not going to grow. So you kind of have to.
True, 100%. Maria, do you have something to add on that, or should we move to the next section?
I think there's a fine line between being harsh on yourself to get yourself in an uncomfortable position and to make the unfamiliar familiar, and where you start to be too harsh on yourself, where you higher up the volume of that self-critic that you have within yourself that can always ask more of you and take away the focus on the task you have at hand. So I think the focus here is super important, that what am I trying to achieve? What are the ways to get me there? And then build up on that, instead of just keep criticizing yourself just for the sake of, you need to be doing more, achieving more, giving more, instead of focusing on what you have to do right now. Because I deal with that as well. I can be harsh on myself as well. So I can understand the difference between both.
Yeah, 100%. By the way, it's that fine line between knowing what to focus on, basically, and how to move forward, not just simply be unhealthy with who you are. So let's just here's the thing. What we know is that over the last 3 years, things changed, right? With the arrival of COVID, I mean, the industry has shifted in a sense, and the way we communicated, it became different. We went digital in a sense, but statistics still showed that public speaking anxiety and that video chat created somewhat of a friction between people. What I'm interested in knowing, and I guess the audience is as well, is that how did you guys adapt to that? I mean, you guys do public speaking literally almost every single day. And it doesn't have to be purely public speaking. It could be through your courses, through your clients, through whatever it is that you do, right? You constantly communicate. How did you guys adapt to that change? What do you guys think is better? Do you think it's better that perhaps we switch back to physical communication fully, or is it better, that we find that balance between the physical and digital, right? I mean, right now we're doing this on Zoom, so kind of an ironic question to ask. Noah, what do you think of that?
It's a difficult question to tackle because there's a lot of pros and cons. As you were saying, we're hosting it on Zoom right now with people from all over the world. That's something that you can't really do if you're having a physical meeting. At the same time, Zoom takes the human element out of those meetings. There's a very big difference. You can hear somebody present a speech over Zoom and you'll give him a 5, 6 over 10. You hear it in person just through the body language, through the emotion, the vocal projection, everything, and you give them a 9. So the human element is very important. I don't think we can take it out of the equation entirely. I think a mix or a balance between both would be the best way to go.
So, public speaking is a vital skill to have, right? Warren Buffett says that if you want to increase your value as a human being in the workforce, then by at least 50%, then you have to learn communication, you have to learn public speaking. And he actually said, told people that advise people to join a Toastmasters club. So the question is, how did you guys manage to capitalize on your skills, on your communication skills more specifically? How did you guys manage to monetize that thing? And if someone would want to follow your steps, what practical advice would you guys give them?
Sure.
Noah, I know, like perhaps you got you monetized that maybe differently. What was the steps that you took, right? What were the steps that you took, and for you to monetize that skill?
I was a pretty bad speaker when I started, and I'm not even kidding. If I show you guys videos from the first courses I made, it's literally annoying. I can't listen to that anymore. The big step was repetition, harnessing your skills. So I took a bunch of speeches, some of the greatest speeches, Martin Luther King, Les Brown, Eric Thomas, T.D. Jakes, and I would just recreate the speech for fun, nothing else. I would literally get the transcript and I would recreate the speech. I would do it over and over and over and over again. They say repetition or practice makes perfect. No, it doesn't. Perfection is a lie. Nothing that we do perfectly today, we can't improve tomorrow. So I realized early on that, okay, I'm going to keep repeating so I can improve my skills. Once I got to a level where people would start asking me, where did you learn how to teach? I'm like, I didn't learn how to teach. I just learned how to talk, how to communicate. I started drifting into making online courses. And I found that a lot of people had good reviews. They're like, the instructor is engaging, yada, yada, yada. And I started developing more on it. And that's pretty much it. I started diversifying a bit more into YouTube and creating, giving these videos a little bit of a twist, because the biggest issue with the digital communication is you can't emphasize emotion the way you can emphasize it in person. So the way to do it is by adding music to the videos, adding some video transitions in between to kind of transition that feeling to the people. And that worked pretty well. 300,000 students so far on Udemy, and it's wrapping up. So we'll see where it's going to be in a few years.
Hopefully, I wish both of you actually the best of luck in your journey as well. So it's amazing to see how different approaches gets you different opportunities, and it opens a lot of horizons for you. It's phenomenal how that one skill can translate into anywhere in life. Now I want to challenge you guys, right? I want to put you in a hypothetical scenario, right? So suppose someone today comes to you and asks you to give a 20-minute speech, right? Give a 20-minute keynote speech in about 2 hours from now. What would you say? Would you say yes? And why would you say yes? Or would you say no? And then why would you say no? Right? If someone were to put you in that position right now, what would you do, Maria? To hear. What would you do, Noah? Would you say yes as well, or maybe you'd have a different approach to?
I would. I think it would be very interesting to present a 20-minute keynote speech in a 2-hour presentation, just because you can add a lot of fluff to it. When it's a 20-minute keynote speech, it's bam, 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 information, speech is done. Where are the stories? Where are the examples? Where are the problem solutions, the anecdotes? Where are the dramatic pauses, right? Where's the audience engagement? You can take the time to actually ask your audience, okay, by show of hand, who agrees with this? People would raise their hands. Okay, who agrees with that? And then you can start developing on that and just create a whole different level in terms of speech, just because you have more time to engage with your audience and make the speech a lot more impressive and detailed in a sense. So I think I would as well. Yeah, for sure.
That's great as well to hear. I mean, you've got to challenge yourself. You gotta, step towards it, not run away from it, right? We still have, I'm not sure we have a lot of time. Guys, are you, the audience, are you guys enjoying this? Are you guys finding this valuable? Let me know in the chat, by the way, please, just to keep you engaged a little bit. So I still have 2 more questions. Maybe we can go through them. I'm not sure how much time we have left, but the first one is, what are the biggest challenges that you guys are facing today? So yes, you had that challenge at first, but then today, I mean, every speaker, no matter how advanced they are, they still face challenges. They still have to grow through them. And so what do you think is the biggest challenge that you are facing today? And what are you doing to move above it, in a sense, to remove that obstacle? Noah? It's okay, we'll take
the one thing that money can't buy, it's time. Time is the biggest issue. If I had 50 hours in a day, I would much prefer that. There will be a lot more time just because I have several businesses that I'm working on. I have a lot of work that I'm involved in. And as much as I'd wish to have the time to work on public speaking more, time is and remains to be the biggest issue. Until further notice, until the businesses are automated to the point where I would have more time to work on public speaking, invest more time into it, that remains the biggest obstacle. Back to you.
And so basically what you're doing is you're trying to offset that by automating things. I saw the timer, but I'm just going to take 2 more minutes. It's fine. It's within the slot as well. So Maria, what do you think about that? Right. Well, thank you both for your valuable insight. We're just going to conclude by maybe one sentence or one thing that someone can do. So if someone wants to unlock their full potential today, in one sentence or in one thing, what is it that they should do? Just one thing, because we barely have more time. What do you think, Maria? What is that one thing? If someone wants to unlock their full potential today, what do they have to do in one sentence?
Okay. This is literally what I do. My motto is I light up the fire within people and then drive them to their full potential. So one thing that I would say is that I would ask them, what makes you feel most alive and what lights you up the most? Go and do more of that.
All right, that's amazing. How about you, Noah?
Realize your vision, burn the ships, and go to war against the man in the mirror.
No plan Bs, huh? All right. Can you guys hear me? Hello? Yeah, I think I disconnected for a bit. It's fine. Guys, we're gonna take maybe 2-3 questions. If you guys can ask them very fast. So what questions do you guys have? So Muhammad Awaini said there's this urge to go up and talk, right? This passion, but at the same time there's a pressure and there's some anxiety that you face that holds you down, and that is the problem. So maybe he's asking, where should you start? So where should you start in that case? You're very passionate, you want to go talk, but you're also pressured and you're anxious about that. Maria, what do you think about that? What should Muhammad do?
I think that the anxiety and the pressure are the result. They're not the cause of why he's not going up to talk. Muhammad, I think it's good to ask yourself, where is this coming from? And where is the anxiety and the pressure coming from? What does that say about you if you get up and talk? What are you truly afraid of? Are you afraid of failure? Are you afraid of judgment? Are you afraid of not being good enough? What is that inner fear that you have? And try to self-reflect on that and ask yourself those questions. I'm trying to keep my answer as short as possible because this is something to explore. Like it's a journey on its own. But definitely start by seeing it as the surface and not the deep core of why you're not getting up, and start to explore, what's underneath that layer of anxiety and pressure, to get to know yourself more and why you act the way that you do. Noah, if you want to add anything.
I think questioning your anxiety is very important. Asking yourself one simple question: what's the worst that can happen? What's the worst that can happen? People are not going to like it. So what? They can leave the room. That's it. There's nothing there. What's the worst that can happen? Nothing. If anything, you're going to get more comfortable with it. And sooner or later, you'll have the confidence to get up and talk whenever you feel like it.
So basically just face it as is. Let's go. So we have Muhammad Attar. Okay. Muhammad Attar has a question. So the question is, what do you think you need to improve to reach to that next level? Right. So I guess he's coming from a place where he already is practicing public speaking. He already is doing public speaking, but he wants to reach that next level. So what would you have to do in order to do that? Noah, would you like to comment on that first?
Sure. One piece of advice, I think I briefly mentioned it earlier. Go on YouTube, explore some of the best speakers in the world, and pick the top 3 that you like. You like their speaking style, you like their vocal variety style and all that. Pick 3 and literally take 5 of each of their speeches, memorize it and repeat it, and try to repeat it as they're saying it to kind of soak in their style a little bit. This will help you in ways I cannot explain. You'll be repeating and reiterating some of the best speakers in the world. And I think that's the best thing we can do.
All right. Thank you for that answer. Maria, what do you have to say?
I'd say first you need to know what is the next level, where do you want to get? And something that I use, an approach that I use, it's not going towards that thing, but bringing that thing to me. Who is that person that's in that next level? How does that person talk? How does that person walk? How does that person behave? Who is that? I start to become that person from now. I don't wait until I become that person later. So when you start doing that every single day, one day you're going to wake up and you're that. It's study that next level so much that you know how to be that person without even thinking about it.
So I think so basically between both of your answers, between imitation and visualization, you're going to find that right place, that right vision, and then move forward. I love both of these answers. I do have a question as well from Muhammad Mumin. So he said he has trouble finding content to create, or finding a story to talk about. So perhaps he loves public speaking, but it's the fact that he can't really find content. Like, he doesn't know what to talk about. I mean, I'm sure that's something that I used to have as well. It's a problem that I used to have, or think I had. What do you guys think about that? Like, what's the best way to create content? Madia?
So the question was, what was the best way to create content?
Yeah, basically, I mean, yeah. So technically, I would say a lot of people say that they love public speaking, right? That they're very passionate about it. But their problem is that they don't know what to talk about when they're on stage or when they want to talk. What would you do in that case? Like, how would you find something to talk about? And I think you're really
I think there's no right or wrong. Like, there is no it's right to talk about this, it's strong to talk about that. What is something that you're passionate about? What is something that you have experience in? What is something that you want to share to other people? What are you an expert at? It could be anything, and you will find an audience for that. And the smaller the audience, the better it is, by the way. So if you want to talk about car toys, if you think that, oh, but the audience is going to be too small, but that's better for you. Business-wise, that's much better for you. That's a smaller niche. So what do you love? What are you passionate about? Go out there and speak your truth and just be yourself. There's no right or wrong, or you need to talk about this just because that person's talking about that. That person's playing their game. You need to play your own game, not another person's game.
Makes a lot of sense, by the way. So
I think that's very true.
You have a different approach because you create a lot of freaking content, man. I've seen what you've seen. Both of you actually, like, both of you have a big following online. So, so what would you do differently, perhaps?
I just shared a link with everybody on the chat. I believe prepared speeches are table topic questions that are more elaborate. If I come to anybody who's saying I'm struggling with finding content, and I say, okay, you're going to be table topics master, you got to find topics for 4 people to discuss, they will be able to find 4 very interesting questions. And if not, that's a list of 365 different questions. All you need to do is pick one of them and develop a speech based on it. If it's your passion and it's part of your field of expertise, it's a lot better because you'll be able to add more value. But literally pick a topic, run with it, get your repetition, get your practice in, and you'll get better as you go.
Oh, all right. I love these both as well. Like the amazing, it's an amazing insight that we're gaining today. So I want to thank both of you. And there's I think we're almost on time. So let's just conclude with that one last question. All right. The question is, say you just prepared a speech, right? So what are some tips to prepare a speech, perhaps the delivery of it or the speech itself, coming from a person that isn't confident with memorizing, right? Well, how would you approach that? Sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah. And Noah, would you like to answer that, or Maria? It doesn't really matter who starts first.
Yeah.
No.
Ladies first, please.
Ladies first. Go on, let's go.
Okay. So for someone who isn't comfortable memorizing, please don't ever memorize a speech. Like I don't know if, what you guys talk about, but don't memorize a speech, because if you forget one line, you're gonna start oh shit, I forgot that line. Nobody knows the information that you did not say. They don't know that you were supposed to say those. So for me, when it comes to preparing a speech, just know what do you want to talk about. One, what are the main points that you want to be mentioning? What are some stories you want to share within those points? Have those stories ready. And what is one, do you want to insert an exercise? Do you want them to be doing something? Do you want them to do you want to open floor for discussion or for sharing an experience or something like that? So don't make it a talk. If you want to impact through your talk, make it an experience. So when you want to make it an experience, you want to make them feel something. You want to make them go through something. So what emotions are you going to inducing, and what's going to induce those emotions? That's why there are stories, there are sharing, there are things like that. So and when you don't memorize a speech, you leave room for you to be yourself.
Yes, 100%. I mean, it would sound a lot more natural as well. So now, what do you think, Noah, of that? Do you have something to add on that as well?
I think what Maria said is very true. If you try to memorize a speech, if you forget not only one line, if you forget one word, you're going to go blank, and everything that comes after it is just going to be, it's going to vanish in thin air. You're not going to remember any of it. And it's going to be very hard because you're going to start getting anxious trying to remember it, and that's going to make it even worse. So best thing to do, if we have a conversation about any topic, you're going to be able to talk about it for several minutes. Do the same. All you need to do is master how storytelling works. There's a very interesting concept called the angel's cocktail. I'm going to share a link right after I'm done. It's basically a mix of emotions that you want your audience to feel. And whatever story you're trying to portray to them, if you use that structure, they will find it enticing. The angel's cocktail starts with first dopamine, using a hook. Dopamine is the main hormone responsible for our sense of motivation and sense of attention. If you hit them with a hook, saying, for example, I'm going to tell you the biggest lie ever in history, everybody's going to be like, oh, what is it, right? Because it's exciting. It raises the dopamine levels inside people's systems. But then you want to break the tension. You want to introduce endorphins. That's when you introduce a little bit of humor, kind of ease the tension down a bit. End it with oxytocin. Oxytocin is the hormone that's responsible for social bond, trust, love. End it with something related, with something that the audience can relate to. If you implement that methodology into each and every story that you tell naturally without having to memorize it, you're going to present a phenomenal speech without even having to prepare for it. Back to you, Muhammad.
Thank you, Noah. Thank you, Maria, as well. I want to thank both of our panelists today. I hope you guys, the people listening, you guys had a lot of value, a lot of good insight to learn from. I hope you enjoyed it. I mean, that's the most important thing. Again, I want to extend my thanks to both of you guys. We do still have a lot of questions, but there's no time, unfortunately, to answer all of them. You guys are welcome to stay. We're still going to have the table topics next. So I want to thank everyone again. And hopefully, we're going to do this again, hopefully, right? Because that's not the end, that's just the start. And that's perhaps one of the lessons that I learned as a speaker. There's always that step that you can take forward as well. So thanks again, everyone, and let's go. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster, Mr. Toastmaster.